I recently posed a question to the members of the HerBusiness Network and I got some really interesting responses. The question was, when it comes to managing your team, what is your biggest challenge, problem, or frustration? And the responses, they came pouring in. And I'm going to paraphrase these to keep anonymity, but here are a few of the responses. One person said, it's relying on someone else to have the same love, energy, and focus for the business that I do. Another said, I never get the same output, commitment, and effort from staff that I get from myself. And others shared stories of being overly tolerant with underperforming team members, stepping in to do more and more tasks, cleaning up messes that could have been prevented, and so much more. So if you have had any of these issues, know that you are far from alone. Most business owners aren't trained to lead people. It's a skill set that we learn as we go. So let's talk about who you need on your team, who to hire in order to make your business more profitable and sustainable and to give you back your time and your sanity. Hello, and welcome to the HerBusiness podcast. I'm Susie Daphnis, I'm your host, and I'm the CEO at HerBusiness. Today we're talking about 5 roles that I think are the first 5 hires that you should make. And this is what's going to give you a sustainable and smoothly operating business. Now, this is going to be helpful even if you have an existing team, even if you've hired staff before, but maybe you don't feel like the makeup of the roles is 100% right. It's also going to be useful for you as you start to think about hiring. And also if there's a team dynamic right now that isn't quite right, if you still find yourself in the weeds, as they say, this is going to really help. And these 5 roles actually free you up to grow your business and they give you more of your time back. And I guarantee you're not going to be expecting maybe some of the roles that made my top 5 list, but I'm going to explain each one of them and why I chose them. As we dive in, I want to credit Dan Martell. He's the author of the book Buy Back Your Time, and his thinking has influenced so much of my thinking about this topic. So if you haven't checked out his book, I encourage you to do that. It's called Buy Back Your Time. And I actually have an interview that I did with him that's part of this show that I will link to in the show notes, and I'll tell you where to get the show notes a little later on. Now, one of my favorite quotes of Dan's from his book is this: 80% done by someone else is 100% freaking awesome. And I love that because essentially in those few words, there are 3 lessons that I have pulled out that I feel business owners need to learn in order to have long-term and sustainable success. Firstly, letting go of perfectionism. When you have a team, sure, no one else is going to do it exactly the way you do it, and that is okay. And the expectation of perfect replication or perfection is kind of a trap, and it's a great way to set yourself up. The second thing that's inherent in what he's saying is that progress is better than perfection, and it's better than you doing it. If a task is off your plate and completed to 80% of your standard or 80% completed, that is a win because it's freed up your time in the meantime to do higher level work. And the third thing is that you can refine later. Like get someone to do that 80%, delegate first, then improve the system second. But don't get stuck doing $10 an hour tasks because you don't think anyone else can do them right. So keep that quote in mind for your current team and any future team members that you're looking to hire. 80% done by someone else is what? 100% freaking awesome. So let's get into the first essential team member that you need to grow your business and to keep it sustainable. Now, if you're anything like me and most business owners, you've got a brain that is full of tasks. You are operating with 100 tabs open at any time. Whether you're thinking about emails or planning or scheduling or bookkeeping or travel or client appointments or meetings, there's so many moving pieces. And all these tasks, while essential, aren't all CEO type work. The work that you should be doing. They're necessary things to keep things running, but they all don't need to use your brain power, not for those tasks. So the first essential hire is an executive assistant or a virtual assistant for yourself. And I'll explain why. This is the first person to hire because their goal is to free up your time. And often we fill so many roles before we get someone dedicated to supporting us, because we think, oh gosh, I can't really have someone just supporting me. Yes, you can, and that is where you should start. And I always recommend this as the first thing to do as soon as possible. And if looking back, this would have been the first role that I would have hired if I was starting a business today. You know how many hours of your week are eaten up by admin tasks. It's never ending and it kind of creeps up on you. There's always more admin work to do. And it's a major reason why you can't turn your attention to the work that actually moves the needle. So whether it's managing your calendar, answering emails, setting up documents in different workspaces, ensuring you know where to be and when, knowing that your clients have the paperwork or the forms or the details that they need before you meet with them. That work is all very necessary for a high-functioning business, but like I said, it's not the best use of your time to be doing those tasks. And hiring an executive assistant will buy back at least 10 hours of your week instantly, I guarantee it. And I can't recommend this role enough. And yes, you do deserve to have that high-level support for you first. It'll change your life. I kid you not. Make this hire and then come back and talk to me. I wish I could go back and tell my younger self, my 27-year-old self, which is what I was when I started my first business, to hire an assistant first before anything else. My assistant manages my appointments, coordinates our events, podcast recordings, keeps track of where I need to be and when. And this is not a catch-all role. You don't hire one person and give them every task you have and call that your assistant's role. This is a role that needs to be strategically designed to buy back your time, to use Dan Martell's language, to allow you to do more of the things that you need to do. Now, I will say that onboarding your assistant, whether it's a virtual assistant or someone that, comes to your office in person, it's essential that you do some onboarding because they do need to know what you expect, what you need them to manage, when to get things done. It's a symbiotic relationship. You're going to work in unison with this person. They're going to be your right-hand person. And this can take some time to achieve. And some of the questions I got when I asked our members about hiring people was, how do I manage my assistant so that they're not waiting on the next task from me? They're just sitting there twiddling their thumbs. This is it. It's going to take you being a little more prepared and organised and not shooting from the hip. This is where clarity and ownership and training comes into play and regular communication because your VA isn't there to constantly check in with you. What do you want me to do next? And that's going to be frustrating for you and for them. So they are there to own the when, the where, and the how of what you're working on so that you can stay focused on the why. And why? What I mean by that is they are there to take care of the details while you can set the direction. And when you get that dynamic right, you're going to be amazed at the time that is created. So that is number one. Ask me questions if you have them. I'll tell you how to do that a little later. Number two isn't a role you would traditionally see on most business hiring lists. So I told you earlier there's going to be some things that might be unexpected. But I swear hiring for this role in my life is one of the quickest, most affordable ways to buy back time for your business and for your life. And that is getting household support. So I started doing chores as soon as I was able to pick up that feather duster. It got shoved in my hands and it was, girl, off you go. Now, my mum kept a meticulous home. And as the eldest and as the only girl, I got to do the chores. The sweeping, the mopping, the vacuuming, the laundry, the shopping, the washing up, you name it. That was my job from the moment I could. I remember walking to Woolworths as a young girl on my own to go and do the shopping. And Saturdays were made for house chores. Now, while that was a good life lesson and it kept me in good stead, I did eventually reach the point where, especially when I had my business, where doing those chores, it just took time away from my business and my life, and my time could be better spent. Because when you're working on campaigns and launches and marketing all week long, you're doing one-on-ones with clients, having to face cleaning the bathroom at the end of all that, it's kind of depressing. So as soon as I could afford a cleaner, PJ and I immediately hired someone to come in for just a couple of hours a week. And when we were running a business with 45 staff over 3 countries, we had a house manager who would handle the groceries and the laundry and run errands and pick up the dry cleaning and book the dog's vet appointments and walk the dog and do all those things. And that allowed us so much more time to focus on the business. And not just in the time it saved me was this valuable, but in the state of mind that I had. You can get to start your day with your head clear, with your house clean, that you don't have all those non-business related tasks buzzing around in your brain. It takes so much to run a business. You know that. There's so much on your plate right now. I'm sure as you're listening to this, you have a to-do list that has run out of room. Right at the bottom of the page, you're scribbling on Post-it notes. When you can offload home tasks, you get so much peace of mind and clarity around your day. You have more time for the things that you love, and not just your business, but for your family, for your partner, for your hobbies, for your life. And so often, allowing yourself to have this is, it's about allowing yourself to be generous with yourself. It's allowing yourself to have abundance in your life. This does not have to be costly. It could be someone coming in twice a week, and what they do is they vacuum, they clean the bathrooms, they make sure the fridge has got some food in it. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. So when you offload these tasks, it gives you back more life. And that's why it's my number 2 hire. And I am an advocate for creating space in our lives. Not enough business owners, women in particular, take the time they need to rest for their mental well-being. If your week is filled to the brim with work and your weekend with chores and errands and taking care of others, there's no time for you, not even an hour. So that personal support goes such an incredibly long way, not just for your business and your ability to focus, but for you. These days, my home tasks are preparing for the cleaner, walking the dog, getting some of the laundry done. We do some of that, and so they just have to come in and fold it and put it away. Cooking when PJ's not, prepping bits and pieces. But I don't have to focus on keeping the whole house clean, and that's such a relief. And when I'm gone, when I'm away, I know there's someone else invested in taking care of the house when I'm not here, whether I'm out at a seminar or I'm out with clients or I'm overseas. And I want to touch on something again, because maybe you've rolled your eyes a little bit saying, maybe you're thinking, well, who am I to have a personal help around the house? I don't even know if my partner is going to agree to that. I want to bring your attention to the why again, because why shouldn't you deserve that help? Women are still so often expected to keep the house, even in 2025 as we're recording. That hidden burden, that invisible responsibility is often overlooked and not looked at as real labour, and it falls on us as women. But this is your time to step up and be bold and uphold the standards. You're the CEO of a business. And as a CEO of the business, if that business is going to thrive, you need to have enough time and space to work on the business. So ask yourself, how do I give myself what I deserve by getting some home help? And if you're thinking, why do I feel like I don't deserve this? What's that rooted in? Then really dig into that. Think of all the time that you could spend with your family or on your business if you weren't doing household chores. All right, I think I've made my case. Let's move on to hire number 3. As the CEO, you are the leader, you are the visionary. And what you don't want to be weighted down on, as fun as it might be, is marketing tasks that take up too much time. Scheduling your social media posts, handling the design of everything, publishing emails, working in your CRM, working in your project management system to, make sure people know, what Canva images are required or what you need to do in MailChimp. So maybe you already spend way too much time in Canva or MailChimp or whatever programs you use, and you're working on tasks that don't really warrant your time and energy, that you could be paying someone $10 an hour to do when you could be doing $200 an hour tasks. So a marketing assistant or a content coordinator is the third role. A marketing assistant can also be a content coordinator. So I'm just going to talk about them as a marketing assistant from here on in. So your goal with your marketing is to stay in your creative genius zone. You are the vision setter for your marketing. Your job is to understand enough about how you want to attract clients, how you want to convert clients, how you want to retain clients, so that you can brief someone else. Yes, absolutely know the foundations of marketing. I think every business owner should know those. We are big at HerBusiness on helping women understand marketing strategy, on having a 12-month marketing plan, on knowing your ideal client, on crafting compelling offers, on having really clear ways for people to come into your world and to buy from you. But you don't have to do all the work and all the tasks related to your marketing. So sure, study, learn, get up on trends, but you don't have to do every bit. Because if you don't have someone or multiple people helping you, marketing can take up your whole world. And what happens is we get too busy for marketing because we're serving clients, and then the marketing doesn't happen, and then we wonder why we don't have enough clients. There is always more to write, more to design, more to publish, more to post, more to plan. But if all that marketing lies on your plate, you're going to become a bottleneck in your own marketing machine. So having a team, or at least one person helping you with marketing, lets you stay consistent and visible without completely burning out trying to do all the things. Now, that doesn't mean you can't use your creativity. You totally will. If you're inspired to write or design or speak or have a particular vision for something, you're absolutely going to be involved with that. But you don't need to be deep in the coordination and the details of every marketing campaign. Now, for you, this marketing role, this marketing assistant role, it might be a part-time job. It could be a contractor a couple of days a month. It could be a full-time person. At HerBusiness, marketing is actually handled by a number of people. Now, we're not a big team. There's 9 of us. So I set the vision for the marketing, and then I can brief it across my marketing team. And so we have someone who does the copywriting. We have someone who does design. We have someone who does audio and video production. We have someone who does the administration. Now, that is not all they do, but they are their key roles as they relate to marketing. So everyone knows what to do and when to pass it on to the next person, because marketing is such a driver for our business. So having a high-functioning team comes from having people with clear roles, having great culture, great expectations, knowing your workflows, having systems in place, having great communication. And if you want more on that specific topic, definitely go out and check out the HerBusiness podcast, episode number 315, so 3 episodes ago, titled How to Become the Leader You and Your Team Need. I'll put a link to it in the show notes as well. But having someone in that marketing role means that you don't always need to be there doing the marketing. You can take a couple of weeks off and let the marketing roll out. You can have your day for high-touch work, for deep work, without worrying about whether that Instagram post was scheduled. And your business stays visible and consistent even when you are there doing CEO work that needs that higher level of thinking, or simply taking time for yourself. So that is number 3. Now, the next one that I recommend is an important one to get right, and that is someone in customer service or client service. When you are the one managing client communications, delivering services, answering questions, what are you? Usually a bottleneck. So that client service or customer service person, they let you deliver a great experience without you having to be that experience. They elevate you to the CEO role in your business. And I see this as really essential for service-based business owners, especially such as coaches or consultants, or if you hand make products and services, if you're involved in the manufacturing, which can often consume a significant amount of time and energy. With someone managing the customer service role for you, you know that your clients are going to be supported no matter what. It's going to reduce client churn, and your customers know that they've got a lifeline inside of the business. Rather than feeling like you need to be on call 24/7, burning all the time, you get to focus on what really moves the needle while your clients have phenomenal communications with your team member or members. And I will say this is an absolute must for me because I am not a great customer service person. I am very friendly, I am very all the right things, but I don't have detail orientation or patience a lot of the time. And if I'm being honest, I have left my team hanging at times, my client service person waiting on an answer for me in order to get back to a client. And they've had to prod me to say, hey, you know what? We're still waiting on an answer from you for this person. So if I'm being honest, I know my role. I know what I'm good at. And you might be the great customer service person, but is that the best use of your time? So one of the things that I do is that I brief my team in advance. So with any project, I kind of know ahead of time, or we brainstorm what the frequently asked questions are going to be that they are likely to get. And so when they come up, the team has a resource that they can go to answer those questions without needing to ask me. So it's a big win for your clients. It's a big win for you. So I'm just going to recap what we've said already. So the first essential element was to hire an executive assistant or a virtual assistant. The second one was to get household support. The third one was to get some marketing support. The fourth one is client service. Now, I promised you 5. So the final hire that I believe you need to grow a sustainable business is a salesperson. Now, this one might sound a little more complicated, but stay with me. My question to you is, who owns the sales role in your business? Often as the business owner, we tend to own it, or nobody is really owning it. Maybe we think that marketing owns the sales role. I used to have this belief, if I can just be really good at marketing, I'll never have to sell, but it doesn't actually work that way. We, at HerBusiness, our marketing does do a lot of the selling for us. But no matter how strong your marketing is, someone needs to own that sales role and actually ask for the sale. And marketing and sales are not the same thing. I see a lot of people doing a lot of marketing, but they're not making sales. So if, for instance, your prime real estate for marketing, say your website or your sales page, if that isn't making sales, then you might need to have one-on-one sales conversations or find other ways to actually ask for the sale. Or write copy that sells, which is definitely a different skill to just writing copy. Now, having a salesperson or someone responsible for sales could be a literal salesperson. That is their role. But it could also be that sales is you setting up a referral system and staying on that. It could be you finding strategic alliances, people with your same audience who are not in competition with you, who you can sell to. My guess is, if you're a business owner, sales is falling into your hands. And while you absolutely can do it, it's taking you off other tasks. Now, this might be the most important task for you to do, but you can't do that while still doing the household chores, while still doing the marketing, while still doing all the administration and all the other things we've talked about before now. Maybe sales is something you hold close to your chest, especially if you're good for it. Maybe you don't trust anyone else to make that final push, and that's okay, but you want to be clear on who owns the role. I know in my business, I own the role. I know in my business that we could probably do with getting another salesperson so I'm not stretched thin, because I'm also the face of the business, the content creator, and a few other things. If you are going to do the selling, make sure someone else is managing the admin. So, for example, if you know that if you can get someone on a call, you're going to be able to convert them, then who is setting up the calls? Who is making the appointments? Who's doing the follow-up? Who's setting up any documentation or research that you need to make or making the appointments so that you can show up as the leader that you are and actually do the best work that you can, which is making the sale. Now, I know that likely if you could get in front of your ideal client, one-to-one, whether it's virtually or in person, you would probably do a better job of making a sale than anyone else. But if you are busy posting on social media, writing emails, doing client service, then you are not giving yourself the best chance for success. Because if every sale relies on you, then your revenue is going to be limited by your ability to have the energy for it, to be available for it. So it might be worth looking into hiring a dedicated salesperson, even if that's part-time or commission only. It allows you to get the work done, to close the deal without being involved in every conversation. And while this hire can often feel a little bit hard, it can also be one of the most freeing because it means that your business can continue to grow without you having to be responsible for bringing in every dollar. And it means that you can get more consistent sales and allow you to focus on big picture planning or networking or delivering your products and services. It also means that the time between a lead coming in and the conversion can decrease because someone has their attention on that lead converting into a customer. And as I said, it lets you focus on relationship building, your leadership, managing your team, whatever the highest and best use is of your time. Now, before you go out and hire or rehire for these roles, hold your horses just a sec, because hiring alone is not what's going to magically buy back your time. You want to think about, how am I onboarding my team, not just in the first week or 2 weeks or month, but how am I onboarding them thoroughly so that they know what success looks like? They know what I expect of them. How clearly and well are you delegating? How consistently do you check in? And what does that checking in look like? How do you foster a positive and productive team culture where the team is actually helping each other as well? How do you lead your team to the success that you want? That's what's really going to determine if you get that time and mental space back that we talked about right at the beginning. And while we don't have time to get into the details in this episode, I would be happy to do an episode specifically about onboarding and training. So if you want me to do that, let me know. You can, direct message me on Instagram, or you can send a message to the team, or you can find me. But this is the sort of support that I offer you inside of the HerBusiness Network if you're a member. But I want to give you a couple of notes to go off since you're here, since you're listening. So I'm going to go kind of rapid fire. Always create a solid role description for every one of your people that spells out not just what to do in the role, but what success looks like, what your expectations are, what done looks like for any task. And I encourage you to build out a sort of a personal playbook, especially for your assistant, that first person I want you to hire. It will tell them how you like to communicate, how you like to be communicated with, what your weekly rhythms are, your priorities, how you like to see things working. Nobody can read your mind. And this playbook idea is really relevant for any role that's working close to you, so that they can be really clear about what you want, what works for you. And you can create this playbook, as a document. You can record a Loom video walking through, for example, how you want your inbox handled or how you like your calendar handled, right? You don't have to type all this out. Or, you can do it in a meeting, and as you're meeting with them, record it so it's there for later. And you might set some rules. This is really important. Like, never book more than 3 meetings a day. Like, we have a rule in my business. If I've been overseas, I want at least 3 days back on solid ground here in Sydney, where I'm living right now, before I do any presentations. That is the ideal. Have we had to buck that sometimes? Yeah, a couple of times, but generally nothing gets booked in for me until I've been back and I'm kind of more on the time zone and my brain is functioning properly. Or I can say, keep these hours or these days every month blocked, or for deep focus work. Then my assistant can work around that. And be sure to set up your systems to keep tasks and projects organised, because if you are just sending emails back and forth, if it's just in Slack, then things are likely to get lost. And so what is your system for ensuring that all your hires know exactly what's expected of them and when tasks need to be done? And remember, there's a learning curve for everything. Things are going to be done imperfectly. They're going to be done differently. There's going to be times where you're like, I'm paying people for nothing, right? Or like, I'm paying all these people and I'm not paying myself. Those things are going to pop up. But just know that's just part of the teething problems of getting into a place where you have the different roles covered, different departments covered. Now, there, of course, are other roles that I think you should highlight. You should definitely have a bookkeeper and not be doing your numbers, for example. You should have a mentor or belong to a group where you can get peer-to-peer mentoring, something like HerBusiness or whatever the right group is for you. So there's some different sort of hires. But here's the thing, as a business owner, we don't necessarily know how to lead. We don't come with that chip ingrained. Right? Maybe you led in a corporate role you had. Great, good for you. Not the case for all of us. So no one teaches you how to manage or delegate or build a team while also being the CEO. These are things that you will come to know. But if I could give you 3 pieces of advice, they would be this. First, lead your people and manage your systems. So have the systems and structures and templates in place that are going to support your people and give them a pathway. Lead them and let the systems be so robust that they can go back to them and go, that's what's expected. The second thing to remember is that culture in your business starts with you. You set the tone. Whether it's you and one other person or you and 100 people, you set the style and cadence for your communication. You set the style for what success looks like. You set the style for how it's okay to be with other people in your business. And the third thing is it's up to you to tolerate or not tolerate what isn't working. If you have mishired or a hire just isn't working out, can it be corrected? Is it a systematic problem? Do they need to be moved into a different role, or do they need to be moved out of the business? You don't have to carry someone. Make sure you're doing it all legitimately and according to legislation. But know that suffering someone in a role because you mishired or because the role is no longer necessary or the role wasn't described well in the first place, and you go to them and you say, you know what I really need you to be is my executive assistant. I think you have the skill set. And they're like, no, I want to do marketing. And you don't have a place for marketing, then they might need to move on, right? We just need to kind of step into the CEO role and lead the people that we hire. And I want to move towards the end of this episode with another quote from Dan Martell, author of Buy Back Your Time. He said, you can't grow a team if you can't trust people to do it imperfectly at first. That's going to happen. Things are going to be done imperfectly. You're going to look at something and you're going to cringe a little, or you're going to look at something and you're going to want it redone, and that's okay. Remember, your team is something that you nurture, you build, you set the tone for. There's always going to be a learning curve. But once you get it right, that team becomes your backbone. They will be the reason that you can take weeks off or focus on high-touch tasks or take some time off to be de-stressed. It's never too late to change the culture in your business, to retrain, to redo your onboarding, especially if you're having issues currently with your team. And now is the time to start setting the pace and leading your team in the direction that you want to go. You are the example. So there's an episode that goes really well with this episode here. It was episode number 315, which is all about becoming the leader that your business and your team need. And so I'm going to put a link to that in show notes. And the title is exactly How to Become the Leader You and Your Team Need. And it's part 1. And there is actually part 2 as well. So part 1 talks about how to lead your team and yourself. And that's the good companion for this one. And the second part is, once again, about self-leadership, but also how to be seen as the leader in your industry. So both those episodes are out now. Now, if you want to access a community and resources to help you grow your business, to help you go deeper into this topic, then I want to invite you to join us inside the HerBusiness Network. Here are women having similar journeys, trying to better themselves, their businesses, create lives that they love each and every day. And you can learn more by heading over to HerBusinessNetwork.com. Now, I've mentioned a few things here. I mentioned Dan's book. I mentioned a couple of other things which I will backtrack and make a note of. I'm going to put a link over on our website at herbusiness.com/318 where you will find anything we've referenced here today. Now, if you enjoyed this episode, I would love it if you would do me a huge favor and leave us a rating or a review. Now, this can be on Apple Podcasts. That's kind of the big kahuna of podcasts. That would be awesome. You can shoot me a direct message on Instagram. You can go across to our Instagram channel, and if you can see we're promoting the podcast, leave a lovely note. You can write to me at podcast@herbusiness.com. I don't mind where. I just want the love for the show. It's just always good to know what's landed. And I want to know, have you hired your first hire? Have you rehired as a result? I know this is a podcast and I'm in your ears and I'm talking to you and you can't reply right now, but there's many other ways to connect with me. So I'd love for you to do that. If you are new to the show, maybe this is the first episode you're listening to, be sure to hit follow or subscribe wherever you are listening and join me in the next episode of the Her Business podcast. Thank you for joining me today. Bye for now.